Welcome to Mystic Cat Stories, the channel where we collect the most unexplained, chilling, and forgotten stories from around the world. Today's episode is one of those that make you question just how much we actually understand about the people around us. This isn't a story about disappearances, but about those who appeared out of nowhere, people with no past, no logical explanation. Some said strange phrases that seemed to belong to another time. Others held objects that shouldn't even exist, and some disappeared just as suddenly as they had arrived. If you're into these kinds of paranormal investigations, support us by subscribing, hit that like button, and leave any comment. It helps our channel grow and bring you even more stories that are too strange to be made up, but too believable to ignore. Now, get comfortable. Let's begin. The Thin Man from Riga. In the archives of the Latvian Ministry of Internal Affairs, there's an obscure reference to an incident that took place in December 1924 at the Central Railway Station in Riga. The document is filed under Internal Number 2719-R and marked "Not for Public Release." The original is stored in digital format in a restricted section of the National Archive, accessible only to those cleared to handle cases involving anomalous behavior without medical explanation. That's where the strange story begins, the story of the man who would later be known as the Thin Watcher. According to testimony from Officer Carlos Ozols, who was on duty at the time, at 6:17 a.m. on December 14, 1924, station personnel noticed a tall man in an outdated dark coat standing by a column on Platform 3. It was bitterly cold. The wind from the port was picking up, and yet the man, by all accounts, wasn't shivering. He simply stood there, arms at his sides, staring straight ahead like he was waiting for something. His face was long, thin, almost chiseled like stone, and his skin, as one porter put it, was white like a corpse, but not dead. At first, no one approached, but after 20 minutes the man hadn't moved an inch. That's when the officer walked up and asked a question in Latvian. The answer came almost immediately, but in a broken language that only faintly resembled Latvian. The man said, "Has the loop ended? Is the sinus still holding?" The officer assumed he was either a foreigner or mentally ill and invited him inside the station. The man complied, moving in a strange, smooth way. As the officer later wrote, he didn't walk, he glided. He had no ID, no luggage. The only thing in his pocket was a thin disc, about the size of a coin, etched with spiral grooves carved deep into the surface. When asked who he was, where he came from, or what his statement about the loop meant, he didn't give direct answers. He only repeated once, "I came to watch." This wasn't supposed to happen here. A doctor was called. He found no signs of intoxication, no speech issues, no mental illness. Everything seemed normal, except for one detail. The man's pupils were dilated to the point of near complete blackness, and he had no reaction to light. He was placed in a secure holding room. Officers wrote up a report and called in a representative from state security. But by the next morning, when the senior officer arrived at the station, the room was empty. The lock wasn't broken. The window physically couldn't be opened. None of the cameras recorded him leaving. The only thing left behind was the metallic disc. It was stored as evidence until 1940, then transferred to Moscow, confirmed by a stamp reading, "Transfer to GRU Research Facility." After that, the object vanished from records. No matches for a man with his appearance, fingerprints, or DNA have ever been found in any European database from the 20th century. But 87 years later, in 2011, a research team from the University of Copenhagen discovered a nearly identical disc buried 30 feet underground at an ancient ritual site in Iceland. The material matched the Riga object exactly. a metal of unknown origin, unstable under magnetic waves. Here are the theories that followed. The observer theory. Some fringe scientists believe the man was part of a system of watchers who monitor disruptions in the timeline or historical anomalies. His reference to the loop might point to a temporal glitch, a rift between worlds. Another theory says the man was a being who accidentally slipped into our reality through some unknown rift or anomaly. Supporters of this idea believe such slips may happen near certain geomagnetic points. A Soviet experiment. A more grounded theory claims he was the result of early Soviet experiments in hypnosis, mind control, or artificial personalities. But it doesn't explain his appearance, knowledge, or disappearance. The story never gained public attention. Its details slowly leaked out through old archived records until the 1990s, when an archivist scanning outdated case files came across a reference to a watcher with a metal tag. To this day, no one knows who he was, where he came from, or, most importantly, where he went. The boy from Illinois. In 1984, an old storage hangar in Illinois, once owned by the traveling circus Wander and Company that toured in the late 19th century, was destroyed in a fire. While clearing the wreckage, firefighters discovered a locked trunk filled with glass photo plates and partially burned personal documents that were still legible. Among them, one glass negative, handwritten with a cryptic label. He spoke to her. She answered. The image showed a boy around 10 years old, with unnaturally pale skin, elongated body proportions, and eyes that appeared far too dark and deep for a normal child. Next to him was a creature no biologist or ornithologist has ever identified, a hybrid of an owl, reptile, and, strangely enough, hints of a primitive humanoid skull structure. At first, the photo was dismissed as a trick of exposure or old-timey photo manipulation. But further analysis revealed it was taken using fully standard 1880s photographic techniques. Experts at the National Photography Museum in Rochester concluded the image was authentic, with no signs of tampering. The investigation led to old circus records, which referenced a strange boy found by performers on the outskirts of Peoria in 1889. Listed as the boy with no past, he had been discovered near the railroad tracks late at night. He didn't speak until a strange bird, later called a dragon owl, approached him. It was at that moment he spoke the phrase recorded in the ringmaster's journal. "She knows where home is. I just woke up in the wrong layer." He would only eat specific food, mostly raw fish, and refused to drink well water, accepting only rainwater. During shows, he was presented as living proof of a parallel world, but the public wasn't particularly impressed. Most dismissed him as a regular orphan, and the bird as a clever circus trick. That changed in 1891, during a fair in Springfield. 3 audience members, all standing closest to the boy and his creature, suddenly vanished. Witnesses described a flash of blue light and an eerie, total silence, like the world had frozen. Police found nothing, no boy, no bird. From that day on, they were never seen again. Only a charred cage remained, along with strange ring-shaped scorch marks on the grass. The local press accused the circus of a hoax, but the troupe soon dissolved. Its surviving members disappeared without a trace. Only one remained, Arthur Fenwick, a dwarf performer, who gave a rare interview years later. He wasn't like us, not even like other kids. When he looked at you, it felt like you weren't even there. And then, he was just gone, like he was never born. Let's go over the theories. Genetic experiment. Some believe the boy was the product of secret early scientific experiments, possibly predating World War II, But that still doesn't explain the creature or the strange energy anomalies. Dimensional slip. A growing number of people support the theory of thin layers of existence, alternate realities that one might accidentally fall out of. This lines up with the boy's own words. I woke up in the wrong layer. Circus hoax. The most skeptical take. It was all staged for profit. But then there are the artifacts, the strange markings, and the disappearances that remain unexplained. In 2017, when the glass plate was examined under magnification in a private collection, strange symbols were found etched along the edge. Markings that would have been nearly impossible to create with 19th century tools. The story became legend. They say in some parts of Illinois, even today, people still hear a raspy call, a mix between a whistle and a hiss, and one schoolboy swears he saw a kid with black eyes talking to a bird in a drainage ditch.